Okay, so I think now is officially time for me to get into the second video of my Star Wars series, and that would be the sequel to Star Wars, and that is The Empire Strikes Back. And like I mentioned in my video to Star Wars is one of the most revolutionary and iconic movies to have ever been made. The movie gave us such memorable characters, an amazing story, incredible action. It gave us a musical score, which I forgot to mention in my Star Wars video, that's easily one of the greatest musical scores ever. And while I did mention in my Star Wars video that the special effects aren't as impressive today as they were back then and do look dated compared to the technological advances of today, are easily some of the most revolutionary special effects of all time, and I think even when you do watch today, still look great, still feel like space, and will always be something to behold. So obviously when you factor all that in together, when people found out that a sequel to Star Wars was being made, they all thought there was no way in hell it would ever be anywhere near as good as Star Wars. But once Empire Strikes Back was released, people officially understood that nothing is impossible, because Empire Strikes Back proved to be one of those very, very rare sequels that improves upon the original. The Empire Strikes Back is, in my opinion, the best movie in the Star Wars saga and is easily one of the best movies of all time. I am so stoked to talk about this movie with you guys, so let's do this. So after taking out the Death Star in the previous movie, the Rebels have established a new hidden base on the ice planet Hoth. And when Luke is out patrolling near the base, he eventually gets attacked by the Wampa, which is basically the Star Wars answer to the abominable snowman. And then comes one of the best scenes in the entire movie, and there are some doozies in Empire Strikes Back. Luke is suspended upside down. The only way to get himself free is to get his lightsaber to cut him down. But the problem with that is his lightsaber is literally just out of reach. The only way he can get it is if he can use the Force to bring it to him. So he starts using Force pull, and we see the lightsaber slowly but surely creeping out of the snow until he's eventually able to get it, slice himself free, and escape. And what I really love about this scene is this is the first time we officially see Luke actually use the Force. I mean, sure, in the previous movie he used the Force to help him shoot the missiles into the Death Star, but he had never used the Force to this extent before. And that's what I think makes this scene really special. Luke eventually gets rescued from being out in the snow by Han, but not before Luke sees Obi-Wan Kenobi's ghost appear before him and tell Luke that he needs to go to the Dagobah system to learn to become a Jedi from Obi-Wan's old master, Yoda. Yeah, this movie says Yoda taught Obi-Wan to become a Jedi, not this Qui-Gon Jinn dude. Another reason why the prequels just don't make sense about anything, but I'll get way more into that when I talk about those later on. Only now, Darth Vader has sent his Imperial fleet to take out the Rebel base. Now, Darth Vader in this movie is just so much more evil than he already was in the last movie. Yeah, in the previous movie he killed a few people and he did some bad things for sure. But in this movie, he is just executing everyone who fails him even slightly, and he is just religiously pursuing Luke Skywalker, to the point where he, along with his fleet of giant walking robots with guns on their heads, have come to get him. Now the battle for Hoth begins, and it is awesome. It feels intense, the action is really cool, and you can just see in this moment just how much more stronger the Empire is than the Rebels. And despite Luke and the Rebels being able to take out a few of the AT-ATs and put up a solid fight, the Empire is able to capture the Rebel base, but not before Han, Leia, Chewie, and 3PO escape in the Millennium Falcon, while Luke and R2 head to the Dagobah system to find Yoda. The two of them eventually make it to Dagobah, and when they first run into Yoda, Luke has absolutely no idea who this really is, so Yoda's really being, very annoying with Luke, really trying to get under his skin. And this is because Yoda feels he really needs to test Luke to see how much patience he really has. And of course, Luke shows absolutely none of it, to the point where Yoda finally confesses that he is in fact who he is and does not feel Luke is ready to become a Jedi. However, after some persuasion from Luke and from the spirit of Obi-Wan even, Yoda does agree to train Luke. Now in the meantime, Darth Vader still has the Empire in serious pursuit of the Millennium Falcon. And now in this scene, we also get our first look at the Emperor, who is Darth Vader's master. In this scene, the Emperor establishes that if Luke does in fact learn to become a Jedi, he will pose a serious threat to the Empire. However, Vader points out that there is a possibility that Luke can be turned to the dark side, which is why Darth Vader is relentlessly pursuing him. Meanwhile, back on Dagobah, Yoda has begun training Luke. And the scenes of Yoda training Luke, I think, are really awesome, because Yoda is such a wise and philosophical being, and he knows every lesson he needs to give Luke in order for Luke to become the Jedi he's destined to be. Do or do not, there is no try. A Jedi uses the Force for knowledge and defense, never attack. And while Luke does show improvement throughout training and is beginning to gain more of an understanding of the Force, he is still showing signs of being reckless and impatient. which becomes incredibly apparent when Luke starts experiencing visions of Han and Leia being tortured, and now feeling that despite his training not yet being completed, feels he needs to go and help them. And of course, Yoda and even Spirit Obi-Wan try to stop him from going, because they know if Luke goes now, Darth Vader is either likely going to kill him or worse, turn him to the dark side, which is exactly what Yoda fears is going to happen to Luke. As he leaves, Obi-Wan describes how they're losing their only hope, to which Yoda replies, "No, there is another." Which now leaves you wondering, wait, what does he mean by that? But now, getting back to those that are on the Millennium Falcon, Han knows they need to repair the ship in order to continue to evade the Empire. So they take the ship to Cloud City, which is run by Han's friend and fellow smuggler, Lando Calrissian. He welcomes them with open arms, and everything looks like it's just going to be fine and dandy for the gang, until they run into Darth Vader, the bounty hunter Boba Fett, and a butt ton of stormtroopers. Lando reveals they arrived just before the Millennium Falcon crew did, and he was forced to give them up. I know some people might give Lando a lot of shit for betraying them, but it's not like he was like, yeah, I'm gonna help the Empire, screw these guys. No, you could tell he felt terrible about betraying them, and that he is in fact a good guy who's being forced to do bad. So I don't think Lando deserves the hate that some fans might give him. So now we realize exactly why Darth Vader was pursuing Han Solo. And that's so Darth Vader can torture Han Solo, so Luke can experience the visions that he was experiencing in Dagobah, and now Luke will come to Vader. However, Vader wants Luke captured, not dead, so he needs to test this carbon freezing chamber on Han Solo to make sure it wouldn't kill Luke. Because if it kills Han, then Vader just won't use it on Luke. And even if it does only freeze Han, Vader's just going to give him to Boba Fett, who's going to deliver him to Jabba the Hutt, who's going to do who knows what with him. And that's just what makes Darth Vader such a great villain. It shows right there that he is evil, he's methodical, and he has no care for the lives that aren't relevant to him, which only makes the movie that much greater. So now they prepare to test the chamber on Han, and just before they do, Han and Leia, they look back at each other, and throughout this movie, the sign of a romance has clearly been forming between them. In this instance, they kiss, and right as the stormtroopers pull them away, comes another moment in this movie that is absolutely genius. Just before Han gets frozen, Leia breaks, she looks at Han and she says, "I love you." And Han responds by saying, "I know." And that moment just worked perfectly. I mean, Han is about to get frozen in carbonite, he's gonna get sold to Jabba the Hutt, he's probably never going to see Leia again. She finally admits that she loves him while he just retains his really passive, sarcastic, and awesome personality by delivering a line that perfectly embodies who he is and exactly why Leia is in love with him. So Han does in fact survive the freezing, but now he is taken away by Boba Fett, and now Luke has officially arrived on Cloud City to confront Vader. Meanwhile, Lando helps Leia, Chewie, and the droids escape Cloud City in the Millennium Falcon, and now we finally get to the lightsaber duel between Luke and Vader, and it's awesome. Because the whole time Luke is trying to put up a fight against Vader, but the whole time Vader's just doing with one arm, blocking every single one of Luke's attacks, showing that he is clearly not a threat to Vader. And at one point, Luke even falls into the chamber where Vader is all like, "All too easy." I love that line too, he's just basically all like, "Pfft, little boy." However, Luke is able to escape it, and now throughout the duel, he's starting to get Vader a little bit more frustrated, to the point where Vader starts to get serious, starts slashing at Luke, you know, really hardcore. And eventually, once their duel has led them to the air shaft of the city, Vader just slices Luke's hand off. Well, it can't get any worse, right? Nope, now Vader decides to bring up Luke's father and tells him that Obi-Wan did not tell him the truth. And here we get one of the most memorable quotes in movie history. Darth Vader looks at Luke and he says, "No, I am your father." So now Luke is all like, "No!" And you're all like, "What?" So now Vader is trying to persuade Luke to join the dark side with him, you know, overthrow the Emperor, and the two of them can rule the galaxy together as father and son. However, Luke looks down and he's thinking, yeah, you know what, fuck that with fries, I'm outie. And he lets go of the beam that he was aiming on and tried to kill himself. A moment that I feel really was great for Luke, because it shows what some want and others fear will happen to Luke throughout this movie. He shows right there that he would rather die than join the side of evil. So good for you, Luke. However, he ends up surviving the fall through an air shaft, which eventually leads to him hanging outside by an antenna on Cloud City. And in this moment, he starts using the Force to try to reach for help. He contacts Leia, who is able to sense it, and she has Lando fly the Millennium Falcon back to go pick him up. Which now leaves you wondering, wait, how was she able to hear that? Unfortunately though, this question is not answered in this movie, as it ends with Luke getting a new robot hand as Lando and Chewie set out on the Millennium Falcon to find Han while the rest of the crew watches from a distance. Which when you watch it for the first time leaves you like, "Aw man, come on, you're gonna end it like that?" I love and hate cliffhanger endings like that, because it gives you enough to satisfy you, but not enough to be not craving more. Empire Strikes Back is one of those movies that executes a cliffhanger ending perfectly. I could watch that movie today, and that ending usually makes me want to immediately watch Return of the Jedi right after it. Makes me feel really bad for the people who had to wait 3 years for it, though. Like I said in the beginning of my video, Empire Strikes Back is exactly what a sequel should be. A movie that steps it up in every sense of the word. The characters are even better and more developed. The stakes are higher, the action is more intense, the special effects are even better too. All of that and more is just why The Empire Strikes Back is one of the best movies of all time. It's without question one of my favorite movies ever. If I ever made a top 10 list of my favorite movies of all time, Empire Strikes Back would be in my top 3, easily. This movie gets better and better the more I watch it, and it is something that I will always remember as a movie that was a true experience. So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you all next time.